to jump on. How is everyone? How's everyone? Feel free to talk, if not, all good. But how's everyone feeling today?
I'm not going to talk, I'm eating.
I saw that.
When I finish eating, I'll talk.
Okay, cool. So freaking well. You are like, I cannot believe. Oh, my light just died on me. Like you're doing amazing. Like you're like your
Talking to me?
numbers and everything. Yeah, you.
Oh. Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing amazing. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know. You're not doing the boot camp, are you?
No, I don't think so. Well,
No.
I haven't paid for it or anything yet.
Yeah. Well, like your numbers and everything are amazing. So seriously, well done, babe.
Oh, thanks. Slowly but surely getting people interested. It's more the market, me saying I'm not going to talk and now I'm freaking talking. It's more like the market partners for me, I feel.
Yeah.
At the moment.
It is for everyone. Everyone is feeling the exact same thing. Even like the big leaders, they're finding it is really hard to talk about the business at the moment.
Yeah.
A lot of people are pivoting. There is a lot more women coming into the business as well. So there's a lot more people doing the business. And so I'm just admitting some girls in. So it is felt across the board, definitely. But we're going to kind of touch on that a little bit tonight, and talk about that sort of thing. I'll give everyone one more minute to jump in. But how is everyone else feeling? Good.
Oh my God.
What else is on here?
I'm really not set up for this. I'm like,
it's fine. You're here to listen and learn.
Moving it. Oh, where'd it go? There you go.
Oh, I'm so annoyed about that. When you buy stuff from Kmart. Okay. Okay, cool. Hi everyone. Thanks for jumping on. I really appreciate you spending your night. It is also, I know, no, that's okay, Jade. Jade's literally in the UK jumping on our Zoom call, so props to her. And so we're going to jump in tonight to a little bit different. I'm not going to take the whole training. We're actually going to have Celeste talking tonight. She is going to share some of her amazing knowledge. She's like, hi, it's me. She's going to share some of her knowledge around, we're going to talk a little bit about social media, about storytelling, about, how you can maximize your social media and things like that. Celeste has been doing the boot camp as well as some of the other women here, and I feel like she's also probably learned a bit through this like the last 2 weeks and stuff. So she's going to like share a bit on that. And we're going to talk about as well, we're going to talk just a little bit about why it's so important to share your story and your why. It is pretty much the key foundation of bringing anyone into this business. You can tell people what the comp plan is like. You can tell people what they're going to get paid in their Smart Start. You can tell people, we're a $3 billion company, in 9 years, that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, people are always going to relate to your story. They're going to relate to you. They're going to relate to, they're going to join your team. So at the end of the day, it's really important to tell your story, and figure out what that story is. So I found that really hard when I first began, because I didn't really know how to tell my story. I didn't really know how to share what was going on in my life and things like that. But what I realized is that the women that I'm talking to, the women that started where I started, and they're the women that I'm talking to who were in my position as well. So I find it really, really powerful to share your own story and your own why. So Celeste is going to talk a little bit more about that. And if you have any questions whatsoever, she's going to jump into some practical tips as well. But if you have any questions, pop it in the chat or leave it till the end, and then we will get to helping you guys with like any of those questions and stuff like that. So yes, thanks, Celeste. I'm going to hand it over to you and mute myself. And I'm ready here with my little notebook because I'm like, I want to take notes.
I wrote down notes, so if I'm looking this way and like turn the page just in case.
That's fine.
I'm nervous, so I like fully prepared it, and I was having a shower the other day. I'm like, oh, I actually really love storytelling, and then I reached out to Lydia. I was like, oh, I kind of had on my heart to share about this. And she's like, do you want to do a training? So I feel really privileged that she's asked me to speak with all of you. And I'm sorry if I seem a bit monotone. It's just to kind of keep me in character so I don't get silly. Otherwise I'll start playing around. But I think one thing that I really do want like takeaway for everybody is I want everybody to hopefully walk away and feeling a bit inspired and encouraged that you do have something really unique and valuable to share with people. And there's going to be people that come across you and your path that you are going to impact that you don't even know. There'll be people that tell you, there'll be people that won't tell you, but I think that it's important to understand that you are super special and unique in your own, everyone in their own way. And I think in this business, it's important that I'm just so nervous. Oh my God. So I'm just gonna swipe out of everyone's face because I'm getting shy. Hold on. Okay, and it's just Lydia's face because I'm nervous. Okay. So yeah, how I'm going to go along, like how this is going to kind of run. I'm just going to touch on like the nature of storytelling, just my thoughts of the power of storytelling, some practical takeaways and reflections, and then how storytelling actually goes hand in hand with our business. So if it seems a little bit like airy in the beginning, I promise it's going to tie in together and there is some sort of structure to it. So when I do refer to storytelling, I guess in the aspect of our business, I'm referring to like our why. I'm referring to what we share on social media. I'm referring to like the way we build relationships, and our story is like who we are, what has led us to where we are and who we are, and like what we value and things like that. And I think these things are important in our business because initially we want to be doing the business with people that are like us or like-minded, because I just feel like that's when you build something really beautiful. That's when you can invite people in because you have your own strong foundation, but then we have a foundation of women around us that hold the same values, and then we can encourage each other and I don't know, just build something really beautiful together. So that's like a little intro. And then just a bit about my story and my background for anyone that doesn't know. I've got my 3 girls. So I've got Scarlett, Willow and River, 10, 8 and 1. Taylor is not my 2 eldest girls' dad. So we're a blended family. River came along a little bit later. I have in the last 5 years, I've gone through grief. I lost my mum. That's a big part of, that plays a big role in who I am today and why I'm doing this business. My single motherhood days plays a big role in who I am and my business. And then there's obviously lots of little moments in my life that have come together to form who I am. And yeah, I think that all these things I've had to kind of craft in my own way and not intentionally. It's been very, I guess, organic, the way that I share my story. And I noticed, like while I was putting together this training, I was thinking about like how I share my story, and I can relate it back a lot to the kind of stories and like movies and things that I like. Like the way that I share is the way I actually have an interest in outside stories. So for example, the stories that I love stories that are impactful. I love fun stories. I love emotional, hope-filled. I love things with depth, but also with a lightheartedness. So when I am sharing online especially, I do try to share in that way because that is something that I enjoy. And I'm sure that then, you know, in the flip, what am I trying to say? I know that there'll be people out there that are also relating to stories in that same way. So those are the people I'm talking to. And I think that I want, while we're doing this, like a little reflection for everyone to think about is just what type of stories do you love? What draws you to them? And how can you relate these stories back to your life? So say your favorite movie is a comedy, like it's Step Brothers or something. Like, why do I find it so funny? It's like, oh, that's right, because I'm hilarious. Or like something, like, it can be something so simple like that. It doesn't have to be extreme depth. But if there is more of an emotional story that you love, like why does this certain emotion, what inspires you about it? If that, I don't know if that part makes sense. But I also wanted to say I'm nervous with that stuff. Yeah, I think just being able to explore that, it's going to give you like a natural and personal way of telling your story. So I think like how Lydia said when she first started, you know, sharing, she didn't actually know how to share her story. So I think it's good to get inspiration from areas that you were actually inspired by. So I hope that's helpful. And I know that I definitely have had my moments where I have felt like right now is the perfect example. I would like to Lydia, I'm like, I don't know if anyone's going to get anything valuable out of what I'm going to say. Like, what do I have to offer people? So I can absolutely relate to feeling like what I have to say is not interesting or helpful or inspiring in any way. But two things that I think is a good takeaway from those thoughts is, and this is speaking to myself as well, it's not actually fair for us to assume that there is no one out there that needs what we have to say. We don't know what people are going through. We don't know how alone someone is feeling in their experiences, and we might have something to offer them. And I think in a way, it's almost selfish of us to withhold, and I do want to extend this, to withhold parts of ourselves because we're assuming that people are going to have the worst intentions, because it's not fair to base people's characters in that light, because it's not fair. But also I just wanted to like say, oh, wait, I need to take a breath, I'm so nervous. I think hold on. See, I'm literally battling with this right now. I'm literally battling with like what do I have to offer anyone, and this kind of thing. But I don't know why I'm so nervous. I'm so sorry. This is okay. I know I'm nervous. It's honestly my doubts. It's myself, like my self-doubt that I don't have anything to offer. But I think I've had people reach out in the past and say like, hey, thank you so much for doing this because it made me think this. Oh, thanks, guys. I don't know why I'm getting so nervous. I'm sorry.
This is your first training. This is your first, but you have so much, like you have so much value to bring. Just read your notes and just expand on that, you know,
okay.
like talk how you would to me.
Okay. All right, I will. I think I actually went back. I was trying to build up my courage and went back to everyone's face, and then I got nervous. I'll just go back to Lydia's face. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to touch on sharing my experience as a single mother. So I was sharing that a lot when I was in the depths of that. And just a little side note. When I say like share your story, I don't mean like you have to be completely vulnerable with people. Like you don't have to come online and share every intricate detail of what's going on in your life. Like when I was a single mom, I was just sharing the surface. Like I was sharing, this is what I'm doing with my girls today. People wouldn't actually know the depth of what I was going through. They wouldn't know the like extreme pain and the loneliness. They wouldn't know all that stuff. Now I feel like I can talk about it because it's in my past and I have hope to offer, because I'm like, I've actually lived through that. And now looking back, I can talk about those things. But when I was in the depths of it, I had to be very careful with safeguarding things that could have potentially given people an invitation to say words that were hurtful. So I think it's important that when you are sharing your story, that you are using wisdom with what you share, because sadly, not everybody has our best intentions, and you still want to be able to be vulnerable and honest, but being really mindful of what you're sharing. So I just wanted to add that side note. But in that time, so I was sharing things back then, and now I'm seeing fruits of that. I've seen people, like there's been people that have been following me, you know, for 10 years, and they saw me live through that. So where I'm at now has so much more power because of what I shared in my past. And I think for everyone else, like sometimes it can be really hard to share what you're going through at the time. So just find things that you've gone through in the past or that you've overcome, and those can be talking points. Those can be things that you share, and you can give people like a beginning, a middle, or an end sort of Yeah, that full stop. You can give people beginning, middle, end. And then I wrote, yeah, and also that's not to say you have to have something tragic or hard to happen in your life. This is just my personal like genre. This is my book, my story. This is what goes on in my life. Like I'm someone that has experienced loss and grief and hardship, but then there's been a lot of hope, and that's my personal story. And I think when I suggest for everyone to go and figure out what your story is, it's going to look different. Like it doesn't have to be the same thing because you're going to speak to a different audience. There's going to be a different person reading your book. And I think it's important just to decide what your genre is. And then I wrote as an example, because I'm a visual person, I'm like metaphors. So just like think about authors, they write books in hopes others will read them. There will be people who judge the book by its cover and don't even bother to read it. There will be those that start and don't finish, and then there will be those people that pick up the story, read it from beginning to end, and it goes on to be one of their favorite books of all time. And those people are usually the ones that then go on to share that book with others, like someone else. Like, have you ever like read a book and been like, you should read this book, it's my favorite book ever? Like, you don't know what value you're going to add to someone and then what they're going to do. And it's that whole ripple effect. You don't know, and it's not fair to assume. And you might not never know, but it's just going back to, I have something valuable to add. I don't know what that can add to someone else's life, and I don't know how they're going to take that and then how they're then going to implement that into someone else's life or share what you've shared with them. And I wrote, tell your story for the latter. So for the people that pick up the book and it ends up being their favorite book, because there will be people who hear the story of who you are and you don't know what positive and life-changing things they will find. Even if it's just one person, they will go on to share that book with another and so on. Your life, even in the most mundane moments, has the potential to share something so meaningful. And I just wanted to share a little example. I hope you don't mind me sharing an example from Sky the other day, but Sky, she goes to yoga every Monday with her mum and her dad, and that, like, it makes me emotional, but that just like touches my heart because that's just her every day, you know. I'm just going to yoga with my parents, but for me it makes me so happy because it makes me reflect on two elements of my life. It makes me reflect on the element that I don't have that with my parent, but it makes me so happy that there's a woman out there valuing their mothers and their fathers. And then it also gives me another perspective of like, hey, I would really love that to be, I want to be that kind of parent for my mum, for my kids. I want my kids to grow up and be like, hey, I want to go to yoga every Monday with my mum. And that is something so little in Sky's life. Like, that's just something she does in her week. But her just sharing that has such a deep impact on me because of my story and where I've been. And you might have your Monday yoga and you don't know how that's going to touch someone else, and you don't know how they might take that because you don't know their story, you don't know what they've been through, you don't know their thoughts, and it's just what you have to say is a gift. But Lydia, that's kind of like I have practical takeaways. And then I just had like little notes. I just wanted to say, like, there is no right or wrong way to tell your story. So that's just figuring out how you want to do it. You don't have to do it like anybody else. You don't have to, I think the important thing with your story that it's yours and that you get to tell it how you want to tell it. And you can share what you want to share. And there's obviously like practical tips that we're going to share that can help you and give you little takeaways. But at the end of the day, I think that it's really important to make what you have to offer yours, and that is what's going to attract people to you, because that's what paints you as not paints you, but, you know, like literal way, like as an authentic person, because you're coming up and being you. And that's what authenticity means. I can't even say that word, but that's what it is. It's coming on, it's just showing yourself. And I just wrote, you are the embodiment of your story. So your story is you. It's not just what you say, it's not just what you do, but it's you. It's who you are. That is your story. And the last little thing before the practical takeaways, it's not about how many people see you, but who sees you. You just, even if it's one person, you don't know who you're going to impact. And then I just have takeaways. So I don't know if you want to add, Liz, and then I can share the practical takeaways and like little exercises.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bev. That was so good. I love, how you've just talked about, obviously, like the telling your story, how it's important to, yeah, like make it your own and realize as well, like, what do you like to see? Like when you're watching people and you're watching their story, what is it about their story that you actually find really compelling? And, you know, what do you find really interesting? Make that your own. You know, when you realize that you like someone who shares really emotional, deep stuff, is that because you like to share emotional, deep stuff, or you appreciate it and that sort of thing? I think it's really important to, you know, it's really easy for us to jump online, show the hair care, show a couple of pictures of our kids, you know, like, you know, share what we ate for lunch, you know, and think that that is kind of like, you know, oh, well, this is my life. But really what we're doing is we're wanting to show people, you know, a story of our lives, a piece of our lives. And while you're thinking like this has probably got nothing to do with selling shampoo, it actually has so much to do with it, because we, like Celeste said, you're bringing your people in, you're getting people interested in who you are, in what you like to do, that sort of thing. Number one, it's going to build your like reach and your capacity, but also people want to be in business with people that they can relate to as well. And so obviously we're just talking about social media at the moment because that's something that I think that we all really struggle with. But in terms of like, you know, oh, this is something that I wrote down while you were talking about. When you were like, talk about, don't obviously share everything. Like you and I both, me and Celeste have both been single mums. We have single mums on this team and that sort of thing. I was not getting on when I was a single mum and showing me having a panic attack in the bathroom, you know, like so people could find it relating. Offer, the way that I think of it is like, I think of it as a testimony, like offer your testimony. A testimony is usually when you have moved through that pain, when you have moved through that season of your life, and then you can actually tell that story to inspire people. And that it doesn't have to be like this crazy inspiring story, like, oh, I'm not a single mom anymore and all this sort of thing. It could be like, you got to kind of change your thinking about it. It can literally be as simple as like, my daughter had a fever yesterday and this is what I did to move through it. This is what actually came up for me when this is why I don't like, you know, not being able to afford this. This is why, this is what happens when my kid gets sick. This is what it brings up for me. There's, I think I've tagged her before, but Amanda Johnson in Ivy's team, she's amazing at this. She can find how to tell a story out of literally anything that happens in her life. But yeah, so once you've moved through that, that's when you should tell your story. And then, yeah, I love what you said about what's your genre as well. So yeah, like it can be really easy for us to jump on, just talk about shampoo and all that sort of thing. But what actually makes what makes your story interesting to someone else? And I think a lot of people can either think of that, but then really struggle with how to do that and how to talk about it. So Celeste, I would love if you could go into like some practical tips or things that we could like utilize to be able to do that.
Okay, cool. All right, I have a few lists. So my first like little activity, I can't remember the guy's name, but I can share him later. But he's someone that I follow online, and he teaches how to like speak and tell stories and things like that. So something that he says that I love, he says be a collector of stories. So he said get open your notes and write stories, and then through your day, start to notice when something occurs in your life that causes an emotion, a feeling, or a thought is thought provoking. And that can be anything. Like it can be funny, sad, happy. And then he said by the end of the year, you're going to have like a whole a whole note of stories that you can tell people. And I think a takeaway from that as well, why this will be effective, is because people will subconsciously pick up on the emotion and the feeling, which is then going to build trust. It's going to help them to feel like they can open up to you and trust you. It's an opportunity to connect with people and relate and just engage with you as well. So I think subconsciously people are just going to build a relationship with you when they can feel your feelings, if that makes sense. Like, you know, when you jump on, you just can tell someone's being really genuine. It's usually because there's a feeling behind it, and it's like it's just subconscious cues that we pick up on. So there's that little task. And then share your why in like a beginning, middle, and end format. So for example, I was a single mum that had to work full time and didn't get to be home with my kids. I'm now in a relationship, in a position to do an at-home business. And then my end hasn't come yet, but that is like the foreseeing of like, I hope that I can bring my partner home full time. This is just an example. So just like tell it in a format, and even just write that down. Like, remember in school when we used to write stories, and that's how they would tell us to write stories, just make it, piece it together in that way. And then what I mean by beginning, middle, end, this is what I wrote. Talk about where you were, where you are now, and where you're going. So just that example. And then I wrote, there is a series of events that have led you to where you are now. Reflect on that. That might not come to you straight away, but I know personally you'll be creating yourself a strong internal foundation. So yeah, that was like another thought process I had. When we're sharing our whys and when we're coming up with our stories, it is going to just build a really strong foundation within ourselves, because as we all know, it gets really hard in this business. There's a lot of people that might have something negative to say, and it can be easy to be swayed. So I think if we have a really strong story, a really strong why, it's much harder to get swayed, because we know exactly why we're here and how we got here. People aren't going to know that, so they're going to have whatever they have to say. So that task is to help build that. And then that was another takeaway. So Lydia does this really good, just the photo series in your stories, and then I wrote and refer back to Lydia. And then you can turn that into a post as well. So you can do that in your stories. I think Lydia can probably touch on this better, how she like tells the story, but she just does a series of photos and then she literally writes a story on top of like caption writing about it. And then you can save that. And then you can turn it into a post, and then it's on your page as well. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. And I thought that and then I added to that, this is effective because it lets people get to know us and our heart. We are susceptible to judgment, but we are also giving people the opportunity to love and relate to us. So do it for those people. And then I wrote a reel, so a quick snippet of videos from your day-to-day. So whatever your day looks like, just piece together a few images. And then something that I've always really loved to do with reels, I know it's good to find songs that are trending, but I do try to also find songs that I actually like and relate to, because I think music is really powerful and it gets people into the feels. So if there's like a certain feeling you want people to feel, lean into those music. So if I'm telling like a I don't know, emotional story, like I'll try to find a song that plays into that, so that it does piece together really well, and it's kind of, people are getting a visual feeling, but they're also getting like a what's it called when you hear a hearing feel, audible an audible they're getting an audible experience as well. So that's just like another little tip. As another thing I like to do, so when we are doing stories and we're talking in the stories, something that I've started to do is to literally write like a little context of what I'm about to talk about, because then it can give people, it can let people know if they want to keep listening, because sometimes you might be starting and you haven't got to the good part yet and they've already skipped past it. So sometimes it's good to write down, this is what I'm going to be touching in this story, like literally like the beginning of a book, like just a little context kind of. Does that make sense? So just like so that way people hopefully listen to your whole story because they know what to expect and they're more likely to stay. Sit down and journal. This is something I definitely have to do more of. I do it a lot in my head. I don't write down a lot, but sit down and journal impactful moments in your life, whatever that might look like. Find lessons in them, inspiration, and this is a way that you can add people into, this is a way that you can add value, because yeah, there might be someone going through what you're talking about, and then you're giving them a solution or some encouragement or inspiration of how they can overcome that. Yeah, that was my takeaways. I hope I didn't talk too fast. But yeah, I can write them down and send it in the chat as well.
Thank you so much, babe. That was so good. I really liked that part about doing the little context thing, like writing about
What are you going to talk about?
what it is you're about to talk about. Yeah, totally. Because some people can just see like slides and then be like, click, 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 click,
Click.
and they don't know what part is going to be good or anything like that. So finding like some kind of interesting part about that story or what you're going to talk about and put that in your stories.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you jumping on and that's on my notes and talking about that. And if anyone wants to like reach out to Celeste or me and ask about that, because like I know, like I said before, sometimes it's just like I thought we just sold shampoo. There's so much more to it. I think you guys who are on this call actually understand that. And the women as well who, pardon me, are doing the boot camp as well are realizing that, you know, it is so much more. It's consistency, it's sharing your story, it's sharing you, it's sharing, you know, the business, your heart for the products and the business and for people. And there is a lot more to it. So when we get on here and we just do like a little half an hour session about telling stories, I hope that you can take that away and apply that to what you're doing, because it can help your reach. It can help the people that are watching you. And like Celeste said, you know, it's not actually the number of people that are watching you. Like I can look at my story views and see the exact same people watching my stories, but not all of them are Monat girls, not all of them are customers, and not all of them are market partners. So I know that there's people in there watching what I'm doing, and that's why I'm keep always just going on and talking about it and repeating myself. Like the thing is as well, you know, like we are always talking to someone. We're always talking to one person that may not have ever heard our story. So it's really important for us, we might just feel like we are repeating ourselves. Like for me, the other day when I posted about me being a single mum, that some people were just like, oh wow, I never actually knew that you like were a single mum for such a long time. But these people I thought had been following me for years and years and years, you know, like, and so just constantly tell your story, tell parts about your story, talk about, you know, struggling to buy groceries, talk about your partner going and working a couple of days a week. And it only has to be, you know, 4 or 5 story slides long. Add a little call to action at the end of it. Try and get people engaged, like try and get people engaged in who you are and telling your story as well, because like I said, that like we can repeat ourselves a million times, it is literally going to bring people into your sphere who are either in your position, thank you my love, bye, who are either in your position who are, you know, going through what you've been through. So yeah, anyway, I wanted to touch on that. Super like quick little meeting tonight, but I wanted to just like give you little nuggets of wisdom and, you know, tips and tricks and stuff like that as well. I'm going to try to keep doing these Zooms every single week and just give you a little bit here and there. Mon is going to do our next week's training as well, and talking about, you know, the business and things like that. And also, what was I going to say? I know that this sale isn't the greatest. It's no secret that our sale is it's not great this month. I was about to swear, but I've relayed that to our corporate team and been like, guys, this sale is horseshit. I'm sorry, but like nobody wants to spend $130 just to get a $17 shampoo. But I almost didn't send 150 text messages out to all of my VIPs, but I did just in case, because it means that even if I spend, you know, $20 sending that out through my little text service, I already had 3 people jump onto the sale. You never know who might just have just run out of their shampoo and conditioner, who might have just seen you use the dry shampoo and run out of their shit Bastiste dry shampoo and need some more. You just never know. So even when you think this sale, like the sales aren't that great, I still encourage you to like let your VIPs know, that sort of thing. My VIPs, I have like a service where they can actually text stop if they want to opt out of it. So a few people have done that, but it makes it really good because then the people that don't want to see it, they just don't have to. But I still have, I think, like 170 people who are still my VIPs who still receive their thing. And if you're feeling cringy about sending them a sale thing, then I would love to see your message, because it might come across as cringy. Or if you think that you're being cringy, you don't want to like translate that, let me know how you're feeling, you know, around that, and I can help you tailor like, you know, a message or whatever it is. But yeah. Okay, we're going to jump off because I'm going to let you guys go. But thank you so much, Celeste, for jumping on and sharing your knowledge with us. And if anyone has any questions or whatever, just feel free to reach out to us. I've actually just done, well, I'm starting to do a course on storytelling in your stories. And so I'll take the best parts of that and I'll like screenshot them and pop them in our chat as well. But yeah, thank you all for jumping on. Love you all. Ciao.